The incidence of poverty in Nigeria continues to be a challenge to address. Amid an abundance of resources, millions of citizens still live in poverty, while many are close to falling into the poverty bracket due to persistent socioeconomic challenges, recently exacerbated by the low global oil prices in the last few years and the COVID-19 pandemic. The Global Multidimensional Poverty Index was developed in the year 2010 by the Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative at the University of Oxford and the Human Development Office of the United Nations Development Programme, or the flagship of the Human Development Report. The MPI is an internationally comparable measure of acute poverty covering over 100 developing countries and 5.7 billion people.
The Multidimensional Poverty Index obviously began as an academic document, but it was motivated with James Foster, the co-author, by a desire to have a useful measure. And already in 2009, Mexico launched its official MPI, followed in 2010 by Bhutan, the country between India and China, then in 2011 by Colombia. And now OFI are the secretariat of a network of 61 countries that either have official MPIs or are building them. And so many countries have found that alongside their monetary poverty statistic, it's useful to have a second overall poverty measure, the MPI. And it complements, it's a sister measure, and it brings other aspects of poverty into view.
Nigeria developed her own MPI in 2014 and 2017 under the Human Development Index framework, with dimensions focused on health, education, living standards, and labor. The National Bureau of Statistics in Nigeria, in collaboration with the National Social Safety Net Coordinating Office, with support from development partners such as UNICEF, UNDP, and OPHI, conducted the MPI survey in Nigeria in 2021 across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT.
The MPI survey is very important because it provides a comprehensive overview of the level of poverty in Nigeria in different dimensions. So at the end of the day, we'll be able to come up with comprehensive and reliable data for informed decision-making process for Nigeria to be able to come out or pursue the fight against poverty.
Work that we do around poverty needs to be aligned very strongly with the NSR. The NSR being the National Social Register that coordinates, that puts together all the repository on data on poverty in Nigeria, especially around households.
The latest poverty report released by MBS indicates some huge poverty numbers, including the poverty line being further driven down. Globally, it was $1.9. Now, for Nigeria, that has reduced to less than 50 cents as our poverty line. It's alarming. And so a survey like this is usually important for our country to be able to begin to gauge very, very in specific terms those levels of deprivations across all sectors, to be able to not only properly plan but allocate resources in a way and manner that we're tackling the issues and challenges head on. When you take the MPI survey results and the levels of deprivation and you hit it against the social register. So while the survey speaks generally to the issues, right, of deprivations, we'll deal with the poverty database of the individuals. So if you take those levels of deprivations and you're able to triangulate on the data that we have, you're able to actually say in what numbers exactly these people are deprived. So the social register, it's an information gateway of all potential eligible beneficiaries to any social intervention. So that means it's a collection of all poor people that have been identified through the targeting mechanism into the register.
As the name of the department goes, Field Services and Methodology, we coordinate all statistical activities right from the headquarters to the zones and to the 36 states of the Federation. In every survey, our major role as a department is to ensure that we come up with the methodology and the survey design to conduct all surveys, irrespective of the size of the survey.
Training was done in each of the states with the state officers overseeing what happens in their particular states. We also saw that competent trainers were sent to each of the states, and which the training was properly executed. I, as the zonal coordinator, on a regular basis ensure that in all the states simultaneously the activity is going on unhindered. And in terms of supervision, we ensure also that there is no part of the state where there is laxity. So structurally, we ensure that the mandates given to each of the states are being carried out in each state.
Before you go to the field, after the training had taken place, after the selection of the enumerators had been done, then the next stage is to go to the field. Now, but you don't just go to the field. Normally, the state officer, at the state level, the state officer is going to write letters, correspondence to local government, Ministry for Local Government Affairs, intimating them that they'll be having some data collectors who will be visiting different enumeration areas at the local government level. Then the Ministry for Local Government Affairs also will disseminate this information to their various local governments in anticipation of the coming or the arrival of these enumerators. Apart from that, the state officer is required to write a letter to each local government as well as the interviewers or the enumerators visit those local governments. Then at the local governments, they are not supposed to only visit the local government and start the exercise immediately. No, another letter is given to visit the district sets or the mianguas, and that what we call the local authorities, so that they'll be able to have a very smooth atmosphere in order to conduct their exercise. There are many reasons why we do this. Number one, to secure or to ensure or to guarantee the security of the field personnel. Now, again, to enable the field personnel have access to the respondents without any hitches along the line. And again, for these local authorities to be carried along so that they'll be able to own this information that we are intending to collect. Again, to collaborate or to support or to complement what government is also doing by sensitizing their people to give the maximum cooperation that is required.
The fieldwork is going to last for 42 days, and by 27th of December this month, they will be rounding up the survey, and it's expected each team is to return back to the office, and data must have been sent to the field. They synchronize immediately, they collect the data in the field.
The instrument for the data collection is digitalized because we are no more using paper form or analog form of data collection. So the questionnaire are to be digitalized, put in a device that can be used for digital data collection. So it is the role of ICT to develop this and also deploy it on the device to be used by field officers. CAPI simply means computer assisted personal interviewing.
So in the team, we have the team lead or the supervisor, so to say. We have 2 interviewers and we have 1 measurer.
My role as a team leader is to coordinate the survey in my team, to coordinate the activities of my other team members, teammates carrying out the survey. Another role is to assist the measurer in carrying out the anthropometric measurement. I'm also to assist them in locating the enumeration areas, introducing them to the community head, identifying weak enumerators, and then training them in the job while the job is going on.
My role as a measurer is to take anthropometric measurement of 2 eligible under 5 children between the ages of 0 to 59 months in an household, and 2 eligible adults between the ages of 18 to 59 years in an household.
The main role as an interviewer is to identify the household we are going to interview. Then we identify the person that meets the characteristics of those that we are supposed to interview. Then we seek their content and interview those who agree.
First of all, when we come, we'll first of all locate the local government secretariat, communicate with the administration, introduce ourselves. Then from there, they will permit us and at least assist us with one of their members that will lead us to the community head. From there, we introduce ourselves, and he too will also assist us with one of his community member that will help us to locate the EA that we are assigned to work in.
What we are doing is they have already done the listing of the household, and we ask about the source of the main drinking water. Then we ask questions about security. We ask questions about the federal government cash transfer, maybe either they hear or they received. Then their main job in the past 1 month or 7 or 1 week. Then we ask about COVID-19 vaccine.
The measurer has a separate training, anthropometry. So the best out of them was chosen as our measurer. And we divided across the teams.
We want to take height measurement of children that are not up to 2 years old. Basically, we take height measurement of children that are not up to 2 years old while lying down. So most times they don't want to lie down. When they are lying down, they are scared of wanting, maybe sometimes they are scared, maybe they want to take injection. So we try to calm them down.
Before the start of our work for each day, we make sure that I take calibration on our scale and the weighing board before we proceed into taking any form of measurement.
When we are taking weight measurements of 2-year-old children, most of them can't stand on the weighing scale by themselves. So after trying to make them stand on the weighing scale, they start crying, so we don't get accurate results. So at the end, we make use of the 2-in-1 method, whereby the mother stands or the caregiver stands on the weighing scale. We're able to take their measurement.
In National Bureau of Statistics, that is our watchword, quality. We don't substitute that for anything else, because it's all about data. It's for planning purposes.
ICT play a very significant role from the beginning to the end, right from the planning stage. And also, during data collection, there is also what we call data quality strategy that we put in place so that we have a very good quality data. So all these are developed by ICT, which include making sure that data collectors are monitored in the field. Apart from that, if you are just keying in wrong information, so we have what we call checks embedded in the program so that we can monitor the quality of data that data collectors are collecting in the field.
For any data that MBS is putting out there, we ensure that the quality is guaranteed because the methodology and the approach is following the best international standards and practices.
Data collection isn't always easy. Sometimes, field workers are faced with difficulties while trying to collect data. As insecurity continues to ravage parts of Nigeria, collecting data in such areas has become almost impossible.
So the safety of our staff is paramount. We don't risk their life for any data collection activity. What we do is we have field officers in all the states of the Federation who are very familiar with the terrain in their state. So before our interviewer goes out on daily basis to conduct any interview, they go for ground truthing to find out what is the situation, security situation in those communities where they want to go and work. So even before going out at all, they make that inquiry. If it is safe, they go there.
First of all, coming here was not that safe for us, but as we've come, due to the way they've received us, we feel secure and we feel happy, and we started exercising our duty here.
In the South-South, field workers face some challenges getting to enumeration areas, which were riverine communities. To reach such areas, they had to rely on locally made means of transportation, as these are the only options available.
80% of our terrain is riverine area, so we don't have much land when it comes to the EA. So the challenge we are actually having here is the terrain. And like where we went to yesterday, you can see if we did not shatter that boat, we would have gone at their own time. And by the time you get there, maybe it's in the evening, and they could not be able to walk. They have to wait the following day. And if they after finishing the job, if there's no boat, they have to sleep again. So the terrain is our major challenge. So if other states are using 1 day to do some job, we might end up using 3 days because of the means of transportation, which is a challenge for us.
We've been here for close to a month, about a month now. We've been to several communities. So this is one of the last communities around the riverine areas.
Beyond this community, we went to Age, which is like the end of Ekeremo. There is the high sea, salt water. This where we are is fresh water. Salt water is about 2 hours on boats to get to that community. While going there, our boat almost capsized. The boat driver had to manage and maneuver so we're stable on the water because of the wave, because of the high sea. So those are the challenges we faced there. The same had to reach community.
Some respondents have been very difficult to interact with. There are places you go to, some of them you say, all this on our federal government programs, them, I beg, just go. But some of them we just have to sit them, we educate them the nature of the program. We tell them the need for them to involve themselves in it. So some of them we end up convincing them, while some persons refuse. So those ones that refuse, we leave them.
With the Nigerian government pledge to lift 100 million people out of poverty by 2030, the results from the Multidimensional Poverty Index Survey will be a useful tool to achieving and measuring policies put in place to achieve this goal and the Sustainable Development Goals.
The COVID-19 indeed brought about a lot of, damages on the nation's economy, so that a lot of things could not function as they should. And as a result of that, the level of poverty eventually increased. And so through the conduct of the MPI survey, we'll be able to come up with information that would tell us who are those that are multidimensionally deprived, and then from there, government will be able to come up with policies that will help her to achieve the vision of bringing out 100 million Nigerians out of poverty.
I always believe that if you are not planning for your future, you are planning to fail. Planning for the multidimensional index is a good one, and especially when it comes in the areas of health, education, the living standard and employment. It gives us a lot of edge for us to plan very well for our state, especially the kind of issues we have on ground, the insecurity that has bedeviled the state for the past 10 years or so, planning is very important. If we get the correct data, the statistics of what is going on, we'll be able to plan very well.
You see, Maiduguri, that is the Borno state, actually has suffered very extremely in regard to insurgency in the state, and which has led the people of the state out of their own means of livelihood. And as a result of that, it has led to very acute poverty to the populace, that is the people of Borno state. When the result of this survey is out, it will help the state very well in the fact that it will be as a pointer, which will show where it is very acute. For instance, MPI in this state, in the headquarters now, it will measure, but the acuteness of that particular poverty will be in the rural areas where they will not be able to go and farm, because so many of them were being killed on the farm as a result of this insurgency. So MPI will definitely do well to the state in that regard.
The impact of MPI survey in Oyo State can be that after analyzing the data, we will have that opportunity to disaggregate the outcome into local government and wards. And it will afford us the opportunity to, advise the state government on policies and programs to address the issue of poverty in the state.
It is quite interesting to actually hear people publish and say, pass on information, say Nigeria is the poverty capital of the world. There's an adage that says, in God we trust, every other person bring data. And that is what the MPI is trying to prove. The MPI is the measurement that is used to address SDG 1, end poverty in all of its forms.
You don't step out, you will not know the reality of what citizens of a given nation faces. That's why statistics does not lie.
That as much as possible for us to develop as a nation, we actually need to adopt the attitude of using statistics in decision-making process.
After the finalization of the data analysis and the report of MPI is going to be published on NBS website, which is www.nigerianstat.gov.ng. So some other, maybe few hard copies will also be printed, which you can find in the NBS data shop.
It is hoped that the results from this survey, when put to good use, would help evaluate government policies put in place to eradicate poverty across the country.
So I will encourage government, I will encourage policymakers, I will encourage users of statistics to please make sure that the data that we made available to the general public are put into proper use so that Nigeria as a country will develop from the council level to the national level. And indeed, it is only through the application of robust and reliable statistics that as a nation we can truly develop.